Hi, I'm Mark Cleghorn. Welcome to the Photographer Academy, and this is all about how to start a successful boudoir photography business in 2021. If you've kind of watched some of the series on the Academy already, which is the kind of the 10 steps to starting a boudoir business and so on, basically I'd make sure that you kind of watch that no matter what. But of course in 2021, we're coming out of COVID kind of lockdowns. We're still going to be going through a few kind of real chinks in the road as far as the business is concerned. But pretty much we're back in business. And if you've been looking for an excuse to actually start your boudoir photography as a bit of an income for you, whether you're kind of a semi-pro photographer or a pro photographer, this could be a perfect time to be doing it. I want to just kind of share with you some of the main things that I would be concentrating on, as well as a kind of shooting pretty smart, pretty fast as well, and kind of including the 14-day kind of basic synopsis that I would kind of use if I was looking to actually get the business up and running straight away. So the first thing I would say is we've got to look at the client type and who is she and what does she want and where's she going to be. The first thing I would say is obviously that the more mature the client, the more money they're going to probably have to spend. The younger the client, the 18 pluses, or what I call club girl, is very basically going to have an amazing amount of money to spend. She's probably actually going to spread it on credit. If you haven't got a credit facility, you're going to have to make sure you take credit card no matter what. But she's still got between £300 to £500 to spend if we do it right. Yummy mummy, so in other words, those young mums going through to around about 35 years of age, pretty much will be restricted in how much they have to spend across the board as a rule, because of obviously family. Now they're less important on themselves, they're more everything interest about their kids, their home, their family and so on with it, so there's less money to spend. That's why when we start to actually look at the above the 45 towards the 50-year-old range, pretty much we've got that kind of real kind of income to spend, and that's really where we'd be focusing in more. Yes, obviously they're going to be probably a little bit more difficult client, because obviously, you know, people come in different shapes, sizes, like we do in ages and colour, and we've just got to basically take what comes along and basically shoot the best that we physically can. And when you're getting into the training in the pre-launch, the business, any models that you're getting through, I would really look for a mixed range for yourself, so at least you've got some versatility in your portfolio, as well as actually images to use in marketing. Where she is basically will be a slightly longer conversation, but we will touch on it today. But it's kind of where she kind of hangs out and where she's spending her money. That's the main thing. But we pretty much know she's going to the salon, she's having her nails done, she's, fingers crossed, she's going to be important in health, or she's going to be having a dog walk or whatever it will be, but she'll have some activity going on, so we can find her without too much kind of headache. And basically with social media marketing today, she's never been easier to find. The styling and the location of your photography, which will obviously really depends on your brand image and the kind of the flow that you're going to have. But as far as the choice, whether you're going to shoot in your studio environment, obviously if you have a studio, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. In other words, you convert a small space, small studio, watch some of our training films on kind of using small spaces and small space flow. But if you're going out to the client's home, obviously it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but there's no real cost involved except for travel. And then of course, as far as location is concerned, that might be the likes of a hotel that you're going to hire, or a venue or an Airbnb, but then we're into costs, so it means that we're going to have to actually basically spread the cost of across the many clients, as it were. So we've got to make sure that the hotel is coming out of not just our pocket, but out of the profit and things. And then sales-wise, desired average sale, pretty much in boudoir photography, you're going to hit a low of 300 average, you're going to get a high of about 750 average, so kind of bring it into the middle around about the 500, and you're pretty much going to have a business model there to work with. I would obviously try and minimize cost of product, especially if you are a 300 to 500 pound average photographer. Anything high will obviously have to involve a lot more kind of product, but don't get greedy is my message. And as far as selling is concerned, pretty much same day sales is always a good idea, because they're into the experience, you know, the kind of the empowerment that they feel after a boudoir shoot, and they basically get carried away in the sales room without any real harsh kind of hard sales, because we never believe in that. But obviously with the likes of the COVID lockdowns and everything else, everybody's been trained on Zoom, so you could actually do some Zoom sales and so on. So 3 steps there to actually get running. Let's step backwards a minute. You know, boudoir photography now has a history in photography studios, and is considered a style to be selling pretty much by portrait photographers of women. For myself, for more than 30 years, we've offered a type of boudoir service. Initially, in fact, it was just to models. It was then introduced into the mainstream studio as an extension to our makeover service that we were doing for clients. So they were coming in, makeover, shooting the hell out of them, amazing images, great experience, come back a couple of weeks later for a viewing. But again, it was only really instigated by one of our brides, in fact, who saw some of our boudoir photography or our lingerie photography that we were doing with models, and she wanted to be a bit of a model. Now, this is in the 80s, the late 80s, yeah, early 90s, and this is quite a massive step. Because pretty much, you know, without the internet, without magazines, you're only looking at the likes of Vogue, Vanity Fair, and pretty much in the UK, any kind of more glamorous style of imagery was more associated with tackiness in the likes of some of the newspaper page 3s and so on. So to actually have a client, a wedding bride-to-be as it were, say, I'd like to do it, please. It was a kind of a revelation to us, and to be fair, we never even thought about lingerie photography as a part of our mainstream business, but we soon adapted it into, and it got adapted into what we used to call our Vogue sessions, eventually then coming our confidential boudoir. So boudoir photography has become more mainstream in the past 10 to 15 years specifically, and we now have, you know, on the high street specialist boudoir businesses that do nothing other than boudoir. We have several of them, even within my experience group and things, really, which are kind of having really good business results and things. So remember, it's never been so easy to get started. So this means that it's great to get it up and running, but just because it's easy to start doesn't mean it's going to be a success. It really needs to ensure that we're concentrating on the mechanics of everything that we're doing. All the jigsaw of the business needs to fit together. Otherwise, it is going to fail. So you can't just kind of launch with an image and not have something to kind of go with it. But just some quick tips. Just set some realistic goals and set them for you and your business, not what others do. Set goals then in addition for 1, 2, and 3 and 5 years. And right from the day one that you make the decision to go into becoming a boudoir business, you've got to get visual. You have to get visual. You almost have to transform a Facebook and a website into more of a boudoir business visual. And there are times when, in fact, you almost need a separate Facebook, social media feeds for that type of business if you're doing other things. We never have. We've always actually put them side by side. So within the one business, we've never feared actually mixing it and so on. But that's really down to you. Remember to shout out every day, and as you can see on screen here, I'm recommending that you run a competition every month of the year. Have some kind of representative or a rep that's talking about you and your boudoir business, at least on a part-time level. Don't procrastinate about anything. Do it, change it. That includes just don't be a sheep. In other words, follow what everybody else is shooting in boudoir. Look at styles and trends and kind of look at what clients like. Do market research, do focus groups during the course of your first year to understand fully what a client wants to go. I think the likes of 50 Shades of Grey, which was kind of launched, 10 years ago now, is it? Or was it 5 years? I can't remember. 10 years ago. has basically changed the planet, not only from reading of a book into a Kindle, but basically into kind of having that desirability and another side of woman. And woman has never been more empowered than ever before. Before, these kind of sexy books and kind of what goes on behind closed doors, as it were, was kind of disguised in Mills and Boon and all that kind of stuff from before you were born, probably. But basically, the 50 Shades franchise, kind of film franchise and everything else, began a whole new kind of focus in on the world of boudoir and what goes on behind the bedroom door, as it were. And make sure you concentrate on everything to do with the experience. I cannot emphasize that enough, because really that is what it's about. It's just not about the photographs, because these photographs might be going into an album, very few go onto the wall, so they might be going to a box of prints, whatever it is. But again, this is really an experience for them to celebrate, and probably one of the things that is going to give them more empowerment, especially the older woman, than they've probably had since they were kind of getting married. Okay, so make sure you don't forget that. I've split it into three types of client. We've got the classic client, who I would say is 35 to 55 years of age. She's body sculpting. She's a Sunday morning sensual as well. You can read that into whatever you want to, okay? Expressions, so as far as she's got good expression still, we're probably kind of looking at 3/4 length images rather than fuller length images, but we will include the legs in some of the photographs. They might even be out of focus, but we're definitely going to deliver a 500 plus average with her. Then we have the rock chick, or the club girl client, the 21 to 35-year-olds. And basically, especially when we're looking at the 18 to 30 club girl, we're going to have edgy body shaping more than ever before, really enthusiastic, gym bunny, and all that kind of elements. That's great to celebrate body. And she's aware of it, and she wants to celebrate it as well. Saturday night sexy kind of, so that little bit more of a glamorous, more looking away images than looking at camera images. And again, we would add more of a fashion styling and an ad kind of bias. So in other words, looking at what is being featured in the likes of perfume ads and so on with it. But she's probably got a little bit less to spend, around about the 300 plus. You're also going to have a confidential client, and that confidential client, if we kind of refer to them as the 50 Shades client, they are any age group, in fact, and they're kind of exploring a different side of them, and they will be attracted in with a different styling of photography. It's not for everybody, and again, you might have some inquiries that you are even saying no to. I get that. But again, it is just being aware of it and being prepared for it and so on. But don't tar everybody with the same brush. That the confidential client could be quite exciting for you in the photographic, and kind of really challenge you as well and things, really. We're then going to actually get into a lot more suggestive body and hand positions, as well as body positions as well. We're probably going to be looking into more of a secret life, even exploring props within the image, as far as kind of fancy dressing up is concerned. Not so much, I mean, with sexual toys, that's not what I do. Provocative posing and provocative expression, and they're going to be adult, edgy, and a lot more erotic kind of bias. And in fact, they could be your biggest sales ever. I've put a real kind of low end there of 500 quid, but in fact, clients that we've had to go through our more confidential kind of photography, we're looking at several thousands of pounds is our average, because they really are into a real celebration of their sexuality and themselves and their partner, which is an interesting thing, obviously, especially if you're doing the kind of couple up. So we're looking at how to generate 30 sessions by month 2 if we're a pro business, yeah? And so the 14-day plan, there's a couple of little things in here to begin with that we've got to understand to make this work. And it's designed on the concept that you're already trading as a photographer in some way. You already have a functioning website, a business Facebook page, as well as a basic income from photography. That could be wedding, portraiture, whatever it be, all right? You have a price list referring to specific products, as well as products themselves to show to clients. That stops us from slowing down, putting all the likes of the price list together. You understand the mechanics of selling, in other words, yes? You have some or little experience in the chosen topic of boudoir, but are actively looking at adding this into your photography business. So you've been thinking about it for a while, you've been procrastinating about it, but you just haven't applied it within the business model yet. Or or that you have an existing business that offers a boudoir, but have relied on a third-party lead generator like Groupon to get most of your leads. You've taken some boudoir images either on a training course or for a client, or have hired a model and have images for use for ads, literature, web, and social media, of course. Social media will obviously, images that you use, they're going to be looking at the amount of skin, so be careful of that. You might get some images that kind of get rejected, some ads and so on. You'll soon learn on it. But you're also looking to produce perhaps 4 to 5 sessions per day for either 1 or 2 days per week as a minimum. Okay, so the most urgent things we need to do to ensure we're shooting within 2 weeks. That's the next thing, yeah? It's all based around planning, preparation, pricing, products, photography, and the perception of the actual boudoir experience anyway, okay? But this is why we can move a little bit quicker than beginning a business off from scratch. If we're looking to start from scratch, what we're looking at is a 14-day move into a 6-week. So it just moves slower down the timeline because we need more time activity. So we need to get organized with images and text that kind of represent the experience. We need to have some basic marketing plans and ideas of where we're kind of looking to actually promote. Social media plan, at least for the next the 14 days, is essential, or at least the first week. We need marketing material prepared or getting ready or going out to print. We need to plan the session, and then we also need to, where possible, link in with local businesses that might be in a similar genre to us. I have a friend through renting their shop for a commercial shoot many years ago. When I say a friend, a connection that I know. And they run an adult shop in Cardiff, the most amazing place, yeah, really is. And that's why we rented it to do some shoots with and things. But with using just her, in fact, we could launch a promotion like that through her kind of online sales, or basically her Twitter, and so on and so on. So again, business links would be very important, but they could be laundry shops, hairdressers, nail bars, you name it, anywhere woman goes. I would always recommend, a bit like the makeovers, that you do some form of before and after picture, especially for your marketing images. I'm just showing the before and after here of a makeover, but you could basically do exactly the same with the boudoir as such. Video interviews and snippets where possible, as soon as you can, with people who are going through those first kind of testing, trial shoots and everything else with it, based on a few basic questions to give you video marketing. Those are based on building confidence for other people, and to actually use them in your social media spread, as well as the website. Interviews about the experience, samples on the web, ads and products, make a price list, what we're selling collections or packages. Remember to kind of fully style and kind of create yourself a bit of a shoot flow in a shoot sheet, so you can flow through it. Give an idea to the client of what's involved and showing it. Don't make it too evocative, because obviously that could put a lot of people off. Put yourself in a little bit of a Pinterest board for you to actually start to pin your own images within Pinterest as well. But Pinterest is really a 3-year to 5-year marketing, not an immediate one, so it's not an instant thing, but it will kind of allow you to send clients off to it as a bit of a kind of an SEO, bringing all images from directions into your website booking page. I as a male photographer need a female assistant. I've always believed in that, and I kind of still work with that today. Plus, if you're going to offer a makeup and hair as a part of the experience, we need to include that, of course. Choice of lenses, you're going to be probably zoom. I'm kind of prime. You're looking at the processing to keep it as simple as you can, and basically some basic Photoshop skills, actions to kind of skin smooth and kind of finish the way you like them, and have basically a simple flow to be able to create albums and wall products with your suppliers. Then we can concentrate on bigger things. So in other words, we're going to be selling USBs. How are we going to be selling them? Is it online sales? Is it in-person sales? If we're going to be doing online galleries, we'll make sure they're copyrighted so people can't just steal our images. Try and link in with some kind of charity like breast cancer awareness or whatever it be. Try and raise some money for them. But those are longer term more. Set yourself an advertising budget to make sure that you are marketing every single week of the year. Marketing plans, social media plans I touched on before, and then all you've got to make sure you've got the images. The text should be emotional and empowering. That's absolutely essential, never to forget. It's about empowerment of woman, not basically just saying how sexy she's going to feel at the end with it. Business links, corporate gifts, planners, take the procrastination out of the way, and the confidence building for both you and for the client. I get it. If you've not shot a lot of boudoir before, you're unconfident. No problem. Shoot more. More confidence. No problem. You know, I might go through sessions here where basically I haven't shot a boudoir in a week or so, and my confidence kind of gets dropped a little bit. Do I remember the flow and blah, blah, blah with it and things really. But as far as when you can define her, you can start to actually really set a define on the goal. In other words, if we know who she is, we're defining our avatar of client, the perfect client, we go looking for them. So base the business on how many sessions per day, how many days per week, and then all of a sudden you can start to actually turn that into a bit of a Excel. To actually make sure that your business is going to kind of work for you and things really. And that is the kind of the getting started in how to launch a successful business in 21. Don't let COVID fear you. In other words, you know, don't worry about it. Just have protocols in place that kind of match what the government says and go beyond that, and actually make sure that you are super safe and the client feels super safe with it. It's never been easier than before thanks to social media marketing to actually get clients coming through our doors. But what you've got to remember is at times you've got to take the session fee away as a kind of a barrier to get them through our doors. Hope you've enjoyed this film. Remember to go and watch the 10 steps to boudoir as well, because that will really be a bigger part of the kind of the real getting started with your business. See you on the next one.